Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and this is Connor.
Hey guys.
We are going to talk about the night of episode 6. It's called Samson and Delilah. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. Now, this was a real yeah, it was a turning point, but before even the turning point, it was just like, because we're actually getting to the trial, this felt like a really prominent part of the story, where we're getting to the last sort of stretch of it.
It's interesting because it's become clear now that this show isn't the murder mystery that we thought it was going to be. It's not been about finding out what actually happened. It's been an analysis of the prison system in America.
The prison system and the court system,
Yeah.
both sides of it,
Whereas
yeah.
this is actually like a, the first advancement in a while that we've really had on the murder mystery side of things.
Which honestly probably made it the most interesting episode since the first one.
I'd agree with that.
Not to say that the last four episodes have been bad, they've not been, but it's just,
This is what you came for.
it kind of was, and it kind of, like, the last four episodes, and as good as they were, and they were really good, it it was missing that one particular thing. Maybe not so much the second one. The second one, because it picked up like the moments after the first one ended, we weren't really feeling it then. But the last few episodes, I felt like, if we get into the case, what about all those details we went through? Like, when we get into those, what about all those different, like, possibilities we had for who the killer might be? Like, when are we actually going to start delving into that? And I guess when it gets to the trial, it kind of makes sense because they're actually going to start talking about them all. But at the same time, Stone's going out and actually investigating, and Chandra as well. Actually, Chandra has probably the most tense scene of this episode,
Oh, definitely.
with the hearse driver, who, whilst also being extremely sexist, is also very philosophical in the way he speaks. He doesn't just
Hmm.
say things the way that they happened. He has to spout it as if it's like biblical talk.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
But he was very intense, and you were kind of worried for her safety at
Yeah,
that
it's like
point.
when the bell rings later, and we know it's not Stone because we just see him playing with the cat.
Oh no, it turns out to be a bit of comedy relief because I laughed when I seen who it was.
I did too, but
Well,
did it
actually,
not go through your mind that it could be that guy?
it did, yeah. But actually, I didn't laugh right away. It took me a second to process why he was standing there because I didn't know she ordered food. Right, if I had known she ordered food, I wouldn't have felt any attention because I was like, oh, it's the food. But
Yeah.
he's standing there, I'm like, wait, why is he at our door? Is he coming to see her? And then like, oh wait, he's holding a bag. Like, it like took a second to
It
process in
does
my
take
head.
yeah, it does take a second to process. But
Why
once
was
you're
it?
there,
Yeah, so both Nazi's parents are doing like sort of just random jobs because they're having to like save up money to pay for the lawyers and all that, as it makes sense. So yeah, so she sees the hearse driver, who, as we say, very intense, very creepy. So that's one possibility, and she like full on believes that he was following her.
it's too obvious, isn't it now?
You could say that about the other one, because
You could.
there's another big option in this episode.
That's true.
And had there only been one obvious option, I'd have said absolutely not. But if they're going to present us with multiple obvious options, then it can still
Mm,
not be any of them. But I find it more likely that one of them might be true.
yeah, that's
And
fair enough.
honestly, I hate to say this, but I think the more obvious options we get, the less likely they're going to answer it.
Yeah, I can see it being just an unsolved case at the end of the day,
And
and
they're going to give us
Daz
like,
goes away no matter what.
and they're going to give us four or five. He may or may not go away, but they're going to give us four or five options because, like they say in the trial here, or just like in the court system in general, it has to be unanimous. The jury has to like say he definitely did it, and maybe that just doesn't happen. Maybe they just,
Well, this is the thing, like they state multiple times, the burden of proof is on the state to prove that he did do it. All they have to do is present enough credible options for other people that it could have been.
yeah. But this is kind of what I'm saying though. Is that
Yeah,
he might still get out. He might
yeah.
still get out. He might still get away with it. Well, not away with it. You know what I mean? Like, but he might still be not guilty. But we still may not get an answer. And what they'll do is they'll just present us with enough options, like the jury, which is actually kind of smart in a weird way, where there's just enough. But at the same time, this episode did more as like last week's did, where I honestly like. I'm not so sure he didn't do it at this point.
Yeah, it's
Because
not looking good for him, is it?
getting the tattoos and, doing the drugs with Freddy, like, all of it's just kind of like, I'm seeing you different, Naz.
Well, yeah, and then we find out stuff about like the violent incidents.
Yeah, he pushed someone down the stairs in high school and broke their arm. And had he landed differently, it might have been a kill.
Yeah, I mean, really changes the perception that we did have of him.
It does, and they're seeing that throughout, and I think it's all been kind of a play so that we do find ourselves in the same seats as the jury. Come, like, in a weird way, ever since not episode one as much, but ever since episode one, every single thing that's happened has been the show itself making its case and its case against it to us as if we are the jury, which is why I'm starting to think we might not get a definitive answer
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah, okay.
I'm thinking we are going to be the jury and we have to like decide in a way. Not that it'll affect the show, but that's kind of the whole point. Is that come the end and it's off air and it's finished, we're left with this question and it's up to us to decide: did he do it or did option A, B, or C do it?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Um, which I think's incredibly smart the way it's actually playing out that way. At the same time, I can't help be slightly disappointed that we might not get a
It's a little infuriating,
yeah.
but I get it.
At the same time, it's realistic because these things happen
Yeah,
and you don't
but
know
but
for
you
sure.
want a nice, neat answer for your TV show, don't you?
So, honestly, it's going to come down to if this is how it goes down, it's going to come down to how it's presented to me, whether or not I am satisfied with that ambiguity, or if I'm annoyed at it.
Yeah, I get that. It's they have to play it very carefully if they're going to go that route.
I will say this episode was also one of the funniest of the show because cutting. Well, actually, there was some bits before that with the shoes, but cutting to Stone's support group with him with his trousers rolled up and like just sitting with his legs crossed and like smiling at everyone as they all look in complete astonishment, proper cracked me up.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I think they've spent too much time in this stupid feet thing, but at the same time, I can't deny that had they not done that, I wouldn't have laughed as hard at that
Yeah.
moment.
Although I'm losing a bit of sight of what it was supposed to be for, because obviously we speculated it was a whole metaphor for Naz's situation, and once it clears up, the case would clear up. He'd figure it out. He's trying all these more outlandish things to cure it until finally something works.
Yeah, but he does get a lead in this episode.
He does, but is it enough?
I don't know. Well, the whole end of the episode, because he talks to some financial guy who dealt with the victim's mother's like estate, and that's why she has that house because it's a because he said it's worth like millions of dollars, and it doesn't make sense that she'd be living there. And he tracks down the financial guy. I think he's a lawyer. Usually, I thought a lawyer would have dealt with that, but I guess it's just our accountant or
I
whatever.
think was he not family though? Like this, when he showed the video, it's like, oh, I didn't realize he'd be arguing with a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why, rather than a lawyer, just because it's family.
Yeah, but he said he'd never met.
Yeah, but like family friend sort of thing, isn't it?
Maybe he knew the mother well, I suppose.
Yeah,
But either way, he dealt with our will and our finances and all that, and we got a good bit of backstory. And it's one of the things I think the stepfather was kind of an obvious suspect when we first met him in episode 2.
yeah,
He just something felt kind of off about him. So again, he's another obvious one, and that particular moment where he's like, oh, he's got a history of like chasing after these old women, and then like like getting their money when they die, and then that moment where he says, oh, her exact words to him were over my dead body, and I really like that moment because when just as he's about to say it, he realizes what he's about to tell him.
yeah.
Like, it's never really occurred to him that he said that. That's exactly what she said. But it occurs to him as he's telling the story. He's like, huh.
Yeah, even though this is off the record,
Yeah.
it's still a weighty thing it is an accusation almost.
Yeah, it's presenting with a possibility.
Yeah,
Um, And the last scene of the episode is Stone like going to because he's a personal trainer for people, and that's he goes to this he goes to the outside of that gym. He looks in, and he sees him grooming another old woman who's presumably he's going to try and wait until she dies for some money. And the last shot of the episode is Stone smelling.
He thinks he's got it.
It's a cool moment. Don't get me wrong. Like, you kind of been waiting for this for like multiple episodes now for him to finally get like a concrete like lead of some kind. But again, it feels really obvious. Which brings me back to we're not getting a clear answer out of this. We're going to be given some options, and like the jury, we're not going to know for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't think at this point his plan is to find out who actually did it. He's just trying to find enough to sow doubt that it was Naz.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he actually finds out that he did it, then
Well, sure,
great.
but if he just presents enough options so the jury isn't entirely sure that it was Naz, that's enough.
But is it enough for us as an audience?
That is a very good question, and that is the question that the showmakers need to have a good answer for.
Because I think if you go back to the first episode, right, I think having this, and like I say, it's still very smart, like playing us like we're the jury. And I do think that's incredibly smart to do it that way. But that first episode didn't feel like it was setting up for that specifically. The first episode was such an amazing self-contained like night of like this crime. You know?
I can tell you exactly why it doesn't feel like that. You know, the thing is, when you're playing it as us as the jury, something doesn't quite work because we have an attachment to the character. The whole point of the jury is they don't know anything beforehand.
That's true. That's true. Had they really wanted to run with this, they should have started as either after it happened, like right after it happened, like
Yeah.
start with the process, or at the very least we shouldn't have seen as much as we did.
No,
on
we
the-
spent a good hour or so looking at Naz like he
and
was
everything
a good
was from his
person.
perspective. This is a very good point. This is something we spoke about a lot in the first couple of episodes, and it kind of faded to other characters over time, and it spread out amongst them. But for those first two episodes, everything was about Naz's perspective, and we were feeling what he was feeling.
Exactly.
And I
Which,
think that's maybe why the thought of them not answering it is very unsatisfying, because we didn't start this way. We started as sympathising with him, and them taking that away from us and trying to make us,
yeah,
right. That's what makes it not quite work.
yeah. It's like a fine idea, but that first episode, as amazing as that first episode was, almost destroys what they're trying to achieve with the rest of the show.
Assuming it goes the way we were saying,
Assuming it does that, yeah.
because it might not. They might like give us an answer, and I really kind of hope they do now. In a weird way, because it started that way, and because we were on Nazi's place. But the thing is, though, is I don't even really connect with Nazi anymore because he's morphed so much into this like standard convict kind of.
Exactly. It's hard, isn't it? Like the way they've played it, it's hard to see whether or not this is going to be a satisfying end or not.
Well, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a fun review.
Oh, that's for sure.
But I like that.
Said,
I like that
see them-
the court case though started as early as it has, so that it'll develop over the next.
Interestingly, I was going to say I can see it ending next week, the court case, and then we
Really?
have an episode of the aftermath of how he's viewed, regardless of the result. So even if he gets not guilty, like how does that follow him around after the case?
Possibly. I can see that definitely happening. I don't know
Maybe
if
not
it'll be
for
a
a
full
whole
episode.
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know if I can see them spending a whole hour on that.
I can see a good amount dedicated to it, though, at least half an hour.
But but again though, I don't know. Like that's assuming it ends that way. Like I joked with Tim last week that I can see the end of the show being the head of the jury standing up. We find the defendant, cut to black.
Yeah.
Like I could literally see that being the final moment of the show.
That would be an unsatisfying conclusion for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind not knowing who did it, but I want to know what the outcome for the character was, regardless. Because they spent so much making us care in the first two episodes, I want to know whether or not he is guilty or not. Like, whether or not he actually committed the crime, but whether or not he gets judged guilty or not.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like to add before we?
No, but now I'm nervous going into these last couple now, just to see if they can pull it off.
Hmm. Yeah, it's we still have the guy in the motorbike.
That's true. We haven't done that yet.
Uh, then again, the good thing about the guy in the motorbike though is that could be anyone really. That could be the stepdad.
That is also true.
Like, I mean, it's not like we've seen his face.
No, he
Like,
had a helmet on. It could have been anyone.
I mean, he was covered from head to toe. He had gloves on. He had like leather jacket, completely covered. We had no
Yeah.
idea. The only thing we can say for sure is that it was a man, and he wasn't like obese. You know, he was a normal sort of shape.
Yeah, relatively
That's
fit.
as much as we can say. We don't know race. We don't know age. We don't know. You know,
Yeah.
he could be a multitude of people. So, um, interesting. No, it was a lot of interesting things to glean in this episode. Also, one other moment I laughed at was when they're in the bar, Stone and Chandra, and she like reveals why she's feeling quite shitty. Her boyfriend broke up with her, and Stone like in about 3 seconds goes, fuck that. That's not important. This is important,"
Yeah.
and just kept going with what he was talking about. Yeah, amused me. All right, so that's the night of part 6. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. It helps us out a lot. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.